Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a quick and dirty rig for your fish. It's quick, but it's not fast. It'll still take a while. So this is the fish I'm going to be using. As you see, these joints out here are kind of worthless. At least in Maya, they're worthless. The tips don't really affect anything because there's the rotation point. The rotation point's way out here. How will it affect anything? So this one's kind of useful, but these guys out here don't do anything. Just to kind of let you know. I use the hypergraph. A few people use the outliner, but I've always liked the hypergraph because it allows you to see everything in your scene. So what this is all your joints, and here's the geometry, and here's your 4 cameras. I use the shelf editor, so as you can see, I can just turn on my hypergraph really quickly and close it. Let's move into creating controls. So let's go to nerves, primitives, circle. I'm going to hold down Shift Control, then left click to get it up here. Now let's create a circle out here. I'm going to just leave this out here. I'm going to duplicate one. Now I'm going to go to my side view with all my joints. So what I did was I don't know why my geometry is not showing up if it's not all. Okay, polygons. So if you turn off all, show none. Sorry, get that a little mixed up. And then just go to show joints. So all we see is joints. I'm going to snap my control to my head joint, which is this one. Rotate it 90 degrees. Then let's scale this up. As you see, it's not perfectly wrapping around it from the head joint, so we're going to want to just kind of center it out a little bit. My head joint is not going to be, the control is going to be nice and average, like just nicely wrapped around. Let's duplicate this. I'm going to snap to the next one in, which is going to be the main, like the main spine one. I'm going to move this down, and let's scale this one a little bit bigger because I want to be able to know that that one is my main control. The head one's going to be a little bit smaller and out. There is an option if you want to move this guy out a little bit further, so it's a little bit obvious to see that this is the head joint. But you still want the pivot point to be over here, so if you want to move the pivot point, you can hold down D and V, and then it'll middle mouse click and it'll snap to the joint. D allows you to move the pivot point, V will snap it. So let's select the spline control, let's duplicate that. I'm going to snap that to the next joint, scale this down so it wraps around nicely, and clean, duplicate, duplicate. I don't have to do much scaling because how big the fish is all the way around. Duplicate. I'm actually going to scale this one down a little bit. Duplicate. That one to the next one. Apparently I didn't duplicate it, so I'd hit Ctrl Z to undo. Then I duplicated it, hitting Ctrl D. Duplicate. Snap it to the next one. And now we have a bunch of controls all the way down the spine. Let's go to the hypergraph and you can see everything. So we have a bunch of controls. I'm going to name this one head. to select the spine all the way to this one, which is the tail, kind of. You want to go over here and go to rename. And I'm going to type in spine here, hit enter, and they will all be named spine 1, spine 0, like nothing, 1, 2, 3, 4. The last two over here will be tail. The reason why I knew that these were tail, even though I can't really read them, was because every time you duplicate them, it puts them in the order that they were created. I know that these two were created last. So there's my spine. Everything's named. I'm actually going to go to my tail one right here, the spine 4, and also just toss in tail. Next, to connect them together, you want to select the child first, and then select the parent, which is the one that you want it to connect it to, and hit P. So this one, P. This, hold down Shift, P, and so on and so forth. Now those are all connected. As you can see that they're all connected as they go in the tiers. The head I'm going to leave separate. Next, I want my pivot point to always be in the right spot. Right now my pivot point's a little bit low. I'm going to hold down DV and then snap it. I think that was the only one. I think everything else is in the right spot. So holding down DV in the middle mouse drag, it'll snap it to the closest joint. If there's only a joint showing. If you have geometry up, it may also snap it to geometry, the vertices on that, so just be careful. So all my controls are there. Next control I want to put up here is modify, freeze transformations. Hold down Shift Control, left click, right there. I want you to select your head and the entire spine. And if you watch here, these will all be zeroed out once you freeze transformations. So now if I move anything, I can zero it back out, and it'll go right back to where I frozen the transformations. So here's the spine all set up. In the next video I'll probably just go and do the head and maybe the lower fins, but more likely just the head and do the lower fins in a following video. So I'll move on to the next video.